A feel that I've developed as far as shaping the ball over the years, I've been playing this game a long time, I find really easy to shape the ball is, I've talked about it in one of the shorts with your alignment, as far as here you can draw, line everything up, close everything right of target, hips, shoulders, feet, but then keep your club face square to the target and swing along your foot line out to the right. I do that, but also, especially if I'm really trying to sling one right to left and not just hit a baby draw, a lot of instructors want you getting up here with these high hands, and most people slice, and they struggle. Where they struggle is getting that shaft to kind of lay down to the inside and get a little flatter for them, where this grip here, is pointing at the ball or maybe even outside the ball if you get it real laid off and flat. So the technique I have used for years, if my normal backswing is here, if I'm really trying to work one, instead of coming to here and dropping way to the inside flat, I will just swing a little more flat and around myself, and the club is already laid down flat for me. I think this a little flatter, more rounded off backswing would help a lot of people that struggle with a slice. Instead of trying to get here and lay the club down, if they can get the club already in that laid down position, I think they're gonna find a lot more success than the drop move. That's one thing. Just try to hit a big old right to left slinger here. Got my feet aimed right, shoulders aimed right, club face straight still. Come to the inside, really let everything release. Oh, that would have had some turn on it. I mean, that's when I'm really, really trying to move one. Say there's a tree or something, I gotta sling it around. This would be just standard shot from the fairway technique. But if you really need to move the ball, or if you just struggle with the slice, just having a little bit flatter, and I don't mean from the beginning take it inside, but what I mean is bringing it up, and instead of this classic Tiger Woods 2000 swing position, just get it a little lower. You're already where you need to be there, right there. But one thing to watch out for, A, is to have somewhere near a neutral grip. That's something that has a lot of effect. I'm looking for something I just had. And then the other thing is your wrist cupping. I see so many people that struggle with a cupped wrist. And a little drill, this is just a Sharpie. You can use a pencil, you can use anything, a ruler. Just take it on your glove hand and stick it right on the back there. And if you notice, I can't cut my wrist because there's a Sharpie there, a ruler. And you could hit balls like this. I've even seen people take a wrist brace for like a sprained wrist and use that before. But even just taking some back swings with something in your glove, it forces you to have that perfect square back of your hand right there. You can't get it cupped, and that's what everyone does is, they get to the top of their swing and their hands are like this, just cupped. The face is wide open, then they start down over the top. If anything, feel like Dustin Johnson. You might not want to get to that position in your actual swing, but just the feeling of having a super bowed left wrist, or let's say lead wrist, having a super bowed lead wrist, that feeling is going to help the slicer also. That's going to keep the club face square. It's going to help you compress the ball. Because again, look, if I cut my wrist at impact versus bowed it, that's going to have so much more power coming through in compression on the ball versus this cupped wrist position. But instinct, for some reason, most beginners I see swing up with that cupped wrist. So it's not just, if your wrist is cupped like that, it doesn't matter if you're coming from the inside. That face is dead open. So that's why it's important, not only your swing path, but where everything is lined up. You want the club face, back of your hand, basically on the same plane as your shoulders. And that should, if you can keep that same, if I were to measure this back turn, or the turn in my backswing, measure this angle right here, what should produce a nice draw? If I can get my back of my hand, my arm, and the club basically right on my shoulder line rather than above it. Because what everyone wants is you to come up here and then drop down to that shoulder plane. Drop down to that shoulder plane. What I'm saying, if you're struggling slicing it, swing to the shoulder plane. And then just try to keep it right there inside. You can feel like you're dropping in. Sometimes the feel is still a drop, but if you can just come here and just keep it back, keep it from going over the top, I think you're gonna find this a lot easier to stop the slicer, to draw the ball, than the drop move where you're high to drop. Just start there. Boom. Actually, if you look at most great golfers, Tiger Woods, you've probably seen plenty of down the line videos of Tiger where the club head paints the line. You ever see it drop inside? No. You see the club come back and you see it come down, basically on the exact same line, on the exact same plane as he came back. The mistake I see amateurs make though, is they'll come back and everyone knows nice wide on the takeaway, nice extension. So if I were to come to this halfway back position and mark where my hands are, maybe draw a line about here, and then get to the top and come halfway down on the way through, you see how that shifting forward, that line is now here when it used to be here. All great golfers have that forward move. You're not gonna see any golfer come back, good golfer at least, and then down on this exact same line with his hands. All of them get closer on the downswing. But that doesn't mean you need to Sergio Garcia, lay the club flat, try to hit your right shoe with it on the way down. No. If you can just get a little bit flatter swing, there have been plenty of pros with even flatter swings. Look at Ben Hogan. He came inside, real flat. This is what I'm essentially telling you to swing like Ben Hogan. Little inside, a little flat, just keep it there. And let your right arm extend. You want to keep your elbow tucked, yes. They used to say Ben Hogan wear holes in his sweater right here because he was so good at keeping it tucked. He would wear holes out in his sweater, they'd say. But at the same time, you don't want to keep your arm from straightening and releasing. Because if you look, if you come to the top, just straighten your arm. Look where the club goes. Straighten your right arm, Don't move your left. It just drops right inside. So if you can tuck that elbow and extend your right arm, it really helps keeping the club on that plane or even slightly under it. If that is, once you get better and say you're hooking the ball too much, that's when I would bring you back to this more little bit higher hand position, more of a neutral place. But if you're slicing the ball, I think that's the player I'm telling to come a little bit more inside to. If you're struggling with the slice, get a little bit more rounded off around your backswing. And then once you're drawing the ball and you're having trouble moving it left to right now, that's when I would move you a little bit more